up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Trust Your Board podcast. My name's Stephen Wright, joined by Mr. William Monroe. Will, how you doing, man?
Doing pretty good, Steve. How are you, buddy?
I cannot complain. Pretty good. Excited for this draft. We decided like an hour ago we were going to do a Superflex, and then that fit really well with some potential happenings in your home league, huh?
Yeah. We every year put a lot of the potential rule changes up for vote, and someone recommended Superflex this year, so that one is currently on the docket, and definitely seems like it's got some momentum behind it. So it's a 10-team league. I think easier to justify with a 10-team league because pretty confident everyone's going to get at least 3 quarterbacks. But yeah, it seems to work out here. So we are going to be doing a 10-team half-point PPR Superflex mock draft today, Steve.
Yeah, and they're always fun because you could do a lot of different strategies. You can go, like we were saying before the show, early quarterback and then mid or late quarterback. You can grab 2 middle guys. You can, go too late if that's what you want to do, or grab like a solid mid guy and then stream. Like there's a lot of different options that you can do. So it makes it a fun kind of draft, huh?
Yeah, I really don't know what we're going to do here. I know you're 4 and I'm 7, so I kind of want to see what would happen if I wait to the second round and see what's available there, but it'll be interesting to see what goes ahead of us here.
Yeah, it'll be fun. So before we get started, per the usual, give us a follow on Twitter at Trust Your Board. You can follow us on YouTube at Trust Your Board and follow along with the draft board if you would like. But Will, you ready to get things started?
Yeah, I think we're still in that kind of doldrum of the NFL. Not much news out here. Hopefully in probably 2 podcasts from now, we'll be getting into training camp and have a lot more news to talk about, but not much to talk about here today.
Yeah, pretty quiet week again. Indeed. So let's go ahead and jump into things here. So I am drafting out of the 4. Will, you're drafting out of the 7. Looks like Pat Mahomes, CMC, and Lamar Jackson went first. I'm kind of surprised to see Lamar still up there. You figure, Josh Allen or Kyler or Dak might have slipped into that spot, but Lamar is still holding it down. I am probably going to stick with what you said. Well, I'm going to pass over quarterback here. I'll wait to the second at least. Maybe I'll push further and go kind of mid, and depending on who gets to me. But I'm going to pass it up for now, and I'm going to draft my second running back, which would be Dalvin Cook. Per the usual, you're at the top of the board. I don't have any issues if you want to go with Henry or Kamara or whoever else, but Cook's my guy at the 2 spot, so we're just going to go ahead and lock him in, and we'll see. This next pick that is what I find to be more interesting. We'll see how many quarterbacks go and what happens here. So Josh Allen goes off the board, and then Derrick Henry, and you are on the clock.
Yeah, so far, quarterback, running back and forth the rest of the whole way there. So it gives me all but those top 3 quarterbacks that you mentioned. And we still have Kamara, Saquon Barkley, Ezekiel Elliott, all your receivers, all your tight ends. So here, I'm going to probably go with the strategy that I mentioned there, what you just took there. There's still too many just elite running backs available. And while quarterbacks are definitely a lot more valuable here, I feel more confident getting Kamara and, even if Kyler and Dak go, somewhere in the Herbert or Aaron Rodgers range in the next round, than taking quarterback here and not getting one of the elite running backs that you typically don't see available at 7. So for me, it's going to be Kamara. I think, out of him, Barkley and Zeke are really the guys that would be in consideration. He, for me, has just kind of the least question marks. I think Zeke's due for a big year, but I think we mentioned on previous podcasts, could this be the year that he falls off? I just read a stat that he, going into this season, for active running backs, has the second most touches in the NFL right now. So I'll say there's one person that the guy guessed first that would be correct, but is technically not on an active roster. So I'll give that gives you a hint. There is somebody that, by the time we get to the season, may push Zeke down to 3rd most active touches.
See, it's funny because I could think of not a bunch, but I would assume like Gore's not on a roster. I would think he would have more AP. Is he a Lion? I don't think he's on a roster, in which
No.
case I would
So
think
in that realm,
Shady?
I think there's someone that maybe not, but I would think more than likely gets a job. We may or may not have just traded for him in Dynasty a few months ago.
Gurley?
So Gurley is one that guy guessed first, and he's got more total touches in his career than because of just a few years of just working him into the ground. But there is still someone who is currently on a roster, not Gurley, not AP, that has more career touches than Ezekiel Elliott.
Man, I'm stuck. I'm trying to think of like older running backs. I keep coming on like Geo, but it's not going to be Geo.
Yeah, and I'll say you're on the right pace. This is a player that the teams that he was on, teams that he's been on, he's on his third team now, has done a good job of pacing him. So he's never really been like a full bell cow, but he's always been good.
See, Sproles comes to my mind, but I don't think he's on a roster.
Nope. We were offered him during the draft, and you adamantly declined, I'll tell you.
Oh, man, I don't know who it is. I don't know. Who is it?
Mark Ingram. Currently has the most career.
Yeah, that makes sense. I would have never guessed that.
Active players, yeah. That's what the guy went right to Gurley, but Gurley wasn't on a roster at the time. So, yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, wow.
Getting back to my pick here. That's kind of the worry, I think, with Elliott. I do think they're going to give him a ton of carries. Barkley, it's kind of the opposite, coming off the injury. I mean, I'd be fine with all these guys, but with the first pick, I want to go with the guy with the least amount of red flags. And I think with Kamara, the quarterback is in question, definitely. But I think no matter who the quarterback is, I mean, as much as, respect Drew Brees, he was the shell of himself last year. Kamara's still got it done. So I think that he's going to get enough carries and enough targets, even in bad situations. And maybe the game script works in their favor if they're not ahead in more games. So Kamara is going to be easy pick here for me. And then kind of hope that one of the quarterbacks gets back to me in the next round out of that top. But we'll see what happens here. So after him goes Kyler, Saquon, Aaron Jones, Dak Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott, and Jonathan Taylor. So interesting. Not one receiver off the board yet. Was kind of hoping that one of those two quarterbacks will get back to me. So we'll take a look at what's available now. If we look at running backs, you got Chubb, Austin Eckler, Cam Akers, Antonio Gibson, Joe Mixon, Najee Harris. There's still some quality running backs on the board. Tyreek Hill, really all of your receivers, all of your tight ends. Quarterback, we're looking at Russell Wilson, Justin Herbert, Aaron Rodgers, Jalen Hurts, Tannehill, Brady, Stafford, Burrow. So for me, it's quarterback or Nick Chubb. I think he's, kind of head and shoulders better than the rest of the running backs there. Quarterback, you got Russell Wilson, Justin Herbert, Aaron Rodgers. Now, 4 quarterbacks are off the board already, so I don't imagine any of those 3 get back to me. So this is where I have to decide, do I want to get one of these top quarterbacks or do I want to see what gets back? And given that this is Superflex, I'm going to gamble here and kind of see what happens here. So I'm going to get the value of taking Chubb and being able to pair him with Alvin Kamara and seeing what kind of team I can put together quarterback-wise with a Kamara and Chubb combination. But this is kind of what you got to think about. I think a lot of people are hesitant for Superflex because they think quarterbacks are going to go early. And while they will go more early, right, we've got 5 of the first 11 picks there at quarterback. You get situations where you're able to pair Alvin Kamara and Nick Chubb. And you don't see that too often in most drafts. So we're going to go Chubb and see what happens after that. So Nick Chubb goes off the board. 2 receivers go, Tyreek Hill and Devonte Adams to you.
Yeah, it's annoying. I wanted to draft Devonte Adams, and then Rodgers would have fell to me in the third.
That would have been nice.
I could have stacked them. Yeah, that would have worked out pretty well. So quarterbacks, we'll run down the quarterbacks since somebody haven't gone. Russell Wilson, Justin Herbert, Aaron Rodgers, Jalen Hurts, Ryan Tannehill. At the running back position, still got Eckler, Cam Akers, Antonio Gibson, Joe Mixon. At wide receiver, Diggs, Ridley, Hopkins, Metcalf, Justin Jefferson. And we still got all our tight ends on the board, Will, which is another interesting little thing that has happened with Superflex and it being a 10-team league. So it's fun sitting here with this 207, and there's a ton of options. It's actually very interesting.
It is interesting. Do you have any thought that 2 quarterbacks have gone behind you there? So I think maybe you can get away with only one of them being drafted there before it gets back to you.
Yeah, and that's what I was thinking, is I could just pass up on the quarterback position, grab another running back, and then with my third pick, I can make a call of grabbing a quarterback then, or maybe I grab a wide receiver and push for a quarterback a little bit further. And I think, at least for now, I'm going to go with the running back to start and then go from there. And it is between the top 2 guys in ADP here for me, Eckler and Cam Akers. It's a really tough decision as far as which one I like more. I think for now, I'm going to go with Cam Akers, but I got a feeling it's going to be one of those things where, depending on the day we're doing the draft, will depend on my answer. Like, they're really close for me. I think Akers probably has higher upside, but that's not to say Eckler doesn't have high upside. I like the Rams a little bit more, I guess. I don't know. I think I just like Akers a little bit more, but we'll go ahead and we'll lock him in and we'll see what gets back to me. Another kind of interesting spot. There goes Kelsey. So our first tight end off the board, Austin Eckler. Russell Wilson to 210, Stephon Diggs at the 3-1. There goes Herbert, 302, and Najee at 303. So I'm back on the clock. I could start with this draft with Cook, Akers, and Gibson or Mixon, which would be really nice. We still got a ton of good wide receivers here. Ridley, Hopkins, Metcalf, Justin Jefferson, A.J. Brown, and still plenty of good quarterbacks that I'm happy with. So I think I'd rather just go ahead and lock in my wide receiver 1, and then I'll probably go ahead and grab my next quarterback in the 4 spot. But with these names here, they're kind of hard to pass up. So I'm going to go ahead. Top of the board for me is just Calvin Ridley, with Julio coming out of the leaving the picture there. So we'll just lock him in, and we'll see. Quarterback, my next pick. I don't know. It's definitely a spot where a bunch of them could go. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 teams after me that don't have a quarterback. You're one of them. If they all draft 1, that leaves me in the Stafford, Burrow, Matt Ryan, Trevor Lawrence kind of a tier. And I think I'd be okay with that. If I get Stafford, that would be nice. Looking past that, it is a little bit worrisome. But, it's a mock draft. You got to roll the dice sometimes. So we'll go ahead and lock in Ridley. We'll see what happens here. There was only 3 teams after me that only had 0 quarterbacks. I was counting myself. So that's actually beneficial. But this team did draft a second quarterback already. So there goes Aaron Rodgers and D-Hop. You're on the clock.
All right. So gives me some interesting options. Quarterback. We've got Tannehill, Brady, Hurts, Stafford, Burrow, Matt Ryan. A lot of the guys that you're usually looking at as your late quarterback that you would draft that are now top of the board because of quarterbacks going on with the Superflex. But it does allow for Antonio Gibson, Joe Mixon, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, DeAndre Swift, J.K. Dobbins, a lot of running backs still available, and guys that I would be comfortable with. So as much as I'd like to pair Gibson here, I think getting another player at a more valuable position makes sense. I mean, you got DK Metcalf, Justin Jefferson, A.J. Brown. Definitely puts a very difficult spot here. You got Waller and Kittle. So definitely in consideration is one of the tight ends, locking that in. Quarterback as well. I mean, Rodgers would have been the one that I take there. So I think I probably wait around on quarterback. Thinking the same thing for running back, but I don't have 2 picks in the next round, just the 1. And then you still got DK Metcalf, Justin Jefferson, A.J. Brown. So some quality receivers too. It's definitely tough, and I think that's kind of the intention of Superflex. It makes it, everyone kind of across the board more valuable, right? As much as I'd like to take the tight end, I think it's going to continue to get pushed down, and you could probably get a Mark Andrews, a Hawkinson a few rounds from now. So I think I'm going to have to rule that one out. And then it comes down to running back or receiver. I think I'm going to aim to see what happens if I wait another round on quarterback, as you have done there as well. So it comes down to getting a guy that I think is a top 5 receiver in a Metcalf, Jefferson, AJ Brown all have top 5 upside, or going with a third running back to be able to fill in that one flex position there of Antonio Gibson. You have Mixon, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, even J.K. Dobbins. I think I'll go with the receiver here, lock in a top receiver, and I'm looking at probably DK Metcalf, maybe Justin Jefferson. I have definitely flipped on DK since his rookie season, and am definitely a big fan now. And I think there's just a little bit more of what we've seen for DK. So I'm going to lock in DK Metcalf here and just kind of see really, I guess, best available here after that. So Antonio Gibson goes, AJ Brown, Joe Mixon, Darren Waller, Tom Brady, and George Kittle. So both of the tight ends go. A couple of the running backs that we mentioned, as well as AJ Brown and Tom Brady. So we still have Jefferson on the board, still have Michael Thomas. So two guys very big at wide receiver. The two tight ends I was thinking about went, so not really looking at that position. Running back, you still got Clyde Edwards-Helaire, DeAndre Swift, and J.K. Dobbins. So interesting there. I think probably running back or receiver here. We've got Hurts, Tannehill, Stafford, Burrow, Matt Ryan. Imagine most of them are going to go. But I think it'll be interesting to see what a team looks like if you don't take an early quarterback. And there's just, I think, too much value still sitting there at receiver and running back for me. So Justin Jefferson or one of these running backs, I think, sticks out the most. We've got probably, if I'm looking at running back, it's Clyde Edwards-Helaire, DeAndre Swift, or J.K. Dobbins. That's tough. I think I think you grabbed Akers, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think he, for me, is that top of the kind of sophomores. And I do think Gibson's probably next, but it's kind of tight there. I think a lot of people are low on Clyde Edwards-Helaire, but I do think he could have a big bounce back season. And I think that's kind of how Kansas City is going to get back to, I don't want to say succeed on offense because it's not like they didn't last year. They were in the Super Bowl. But the offense really was clicking when they had Kareem Hunt, and they were using him a lot. So Clyde and Dobbins are the two that I'm looking at here just because I'm a little worried about Swift and the touchdown opportunity. So for me, comes down to Dobbins or Clyde, or looking at Justin Jefferson. And it comes down to just the scarcity of the running back position. As much as I'd love to get Justin Jefferson here, getting another one of these running backs really would allow me to wait on running back for a while, having Kamara, Chubb, and Dobbins or Akers, Dobbins or Clyde.
Man, if Justin Jefferson can get back to me, man, I'm going to lose my mind.
I know. It's tough to pass on him here, but I feel like just with the way the running backs are, there's just it could start drop off because that was one position I think that we've consistently seen being drafted throughout here.
You know what I wouldn't mind doing, Will?
What's that?
It's kind of weird to say, but I already got Cook. If Jefferson fell to me, I would realistically do Cook, Jefferson, and Cousins later.
Yeah.
And just grab that entire offense. Yeah, it's interesting.
And Superflex, Cousins is definitely going to be drafted, so definitely going to have to be on your radar.
I don't think he's going to get back to me, but we'll see.
We'll see, yeah. We'll see how the runnings go, or the receiver positions, quarterbacks go as well. So I'm going to go with Clyde Edwards-Helaire here. And the tiebreaker, I think he and Dobbins both have high upside. Floors maybe just limited with volume, especially Dobbins. I think there's going to be a lot of running there, but does Gus steal some touchdowns? Does Lamar steal some touchdowns? So I think the tiebreaker is we've already got a Dobbins share in one league, whereas I don't have anything of Clyde. I think it's a really toss up. I really like both of them, but we're going to go with Clyde here, and then see what gets back out of the running back and receiver position.
I think Jefferson gets back to me.
Oh,
nope,
no.
Darn it.
Right after me he goes. And Josh Jacobs goes. Man. Interesting.
Yeah, I looked and I was like, well, Team 5 doesn't have a running back yet. They'll probably go running back. And I was like, oh, Team 6 doesn't have a quarterback. They ain't go quarterback, and I can get Jefferson. And then, they didn't.
Tyreek Hill, DeAndre Hopkins, and Justin Jefferson all on one team.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
That is pretty good. So I am back on the clock. A reminder, I got Dalvin Cook, Cam Akers, and Calvin Ridley here. So I don't feel like I'm stuck needing to do anything specific. Swift, Dobbins, Carson, Montgomery, Sanders, all good options. At wide receiver, Michael Thomas is still there. Keenan Allen. He was another one that I had thought, after I drafted Cam Akers, maybe I could grab Justin Herbert and stack him with Keenan Allen. But then Herbert went. So, my stacking ideas have really just not worked out very well. The quarterback or the tight ends, we got everybody with Kelsey, Kittle, and Waller. And then at the quarterback position, we're looking at Jalen Hurts, Ryan Tannehill, Matt Stafford, Joe Burrow, Matt Ryan. So we're still in a good tier. I would feel pretty comfortable grabbing, another wide receiver here, or running back, and punting quarterback one more tier. My only hesitation is Jalen Hurts, given his upside for fantasy is very high, but I just don't quite believe in him the same way I did not Trevor Lawrence, Lamar Jackson in years past. So I think I am going to pass the quarterback position one more time. I don't think I could wait any longer. And I will go ahead and grab myself a wide receiver. And I don't think I've drafted him in any mocks yet, but Michael Thomas is kind of hard to pass up on here.
Crazy.
Yeah, right? Like I don't think he's going to reach the heights that he has reached in years past, but last year was a pretty injury-riddled season, so I don't think that's going to happen for him either. I think he'll be a solid number 2 for my team with real high upside. So we'll go ahead and lock him in.
I think he's due for some high positive touchdown regression. I think he had a few.
Absolutely. I checked that out. No quarterbacks went. CeeDee Lamb, Keenan Allen, DeAndre Swift, Terry McLaurin, Allen Robinson, Javonte Williams. So I'm back on the clock. We got at the wide receiver position, Amari Cooper, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Robert Woods, Julio. At the running back, we still got Dobbins, Chris Carson, David Montgomery, Miles Sanders. At quarterback, all the same ones that I mentioned. The guy after me has 2 quarterbacks, and then no quarterbacks, 1, 1, 1. So I am going to strike now because I could see some of these quarterbacks going. And if you had any dreams of Jalen Hurts getting to you, those dreams are going to be evaporating.
Yeah,
he is going to be my kind of high upside guy. For picking, waiting until the 5th round, I'm getting a guy that, in next year's Superflexes could be going in the 1st round. He's got that kind of upside with the way he runs. So we'll go ahead and lock him in, take care of that first quarterback position here, and then we'll see how long I wait until we strike again. But we'll go ahead, see what gets back to me here, or I guess more importantly, what gets to you. Mike Evans, J.K. Dobbins go off the board.
Yeah, and it's interesting because there was 4 quarterbacks, including Hurts, that I was hoping would get to me here, and 3 of them did, with Tannehill, Stafford, and Matt Ryan. So this is where do I wait one more round, knowing that all 3 teams have 1 quarterback behind me? So literally the worst thing that happens is all 3 of them go. And or do I just strike here on one of them? Because I do think I have Tannehill and Stafford a little bit higher than Matt Ryan, but Matt Ryan not too far down below that. If we're looking at positions, still have Carson, David Montgomery, Miles Sanders on the board. Wide receiver, we still got Amari Cooper, Godwin, Woods, Julio. And then we are here in the 5th round. Tight end, Hockenson, and Mark Andrews. So still some interesting of guys available. I think I have to strike, though, at quarterback. I don't think any of those other positions have guys that just are I have to get. There's tiers of guys that I wouldn't mind. Receiver, Amari, Godwin, Woods, Julio, and then the 2 tight ends there. So I think there's enough that something will get back. Possibly even a quarterback if the other one of the other 2 get back to me. And for me here, I'm gonna strike with I think a little more upside as well, and I'm gonna go with Stafford actually over Tannehill. I as much as I do think that's going to be a run heavy team, Tennessee is going to be as well. But I just don't think that you can that McVay is going to be able to help himself just with the arm that Stafford has. He's going to love just winging it around with him. And with guys like Woods and Kupp, Gerald Everett seems to be the only guy in town now. I think they have a really solid offense around him. So being that I've waited a few rounds, being able to get Stafford as my QB1 with Kamara, Chubb, Metcalf, and Clyde, pretty solid. And I imagine I'll be able to get either tight end or wide receiver here in the next round. So we go Stafford, Julio goes, Godwin, Jamar Chase, interesting enough, Joe Burrow, Amari Cooper, and Adam Thielen. So this actually, it's interesting. Couple of the receivers that I like on the board, both of the quarterbacks I mentioned, and the tight end in TJ Hawkinson and Mark Andrews. So this is
Could just grab Tannehill now.
I know. Do I
grab both quarterbacks?
Yeah, but Woods there is really appetizing to pair him with Stafford as well. And then, I mentioned the 2 tight ends. I think there is a little bit of drop off after that, especially given that only one team behind me has taken one. I don't know that both of them get back. We'll see if you would. But I think, waiting on the quarterback position, it paid off to get to get a guy that I like, but I don't know that I can, afford to wait any longer with Stafford and Tannehill and Matt Ryan both there. So I think tough because just pairing Woods with Stafford would be really nice. Yeah, I think I'm going to go with quarterback position, see what happens. We lock them both in. We're going to go Tannehill here and get that super flex locked in. Obviously, you don't have that top talent, but having Stafford and Tannehill, I feel like really gives at least a good floor to the quarterback position. And pairing that with just the elite talent I have at running back already and DK, I'll be able to fill in some holes at receiver and tight end, especially if a tight end gets back. But there's more than enough receivers available here that I don't think I can pass on a quarterback here in Superflex to get Woods. So Tannehill's going to be the pick here. Get both of the guys that I was debating between there in the 5th round. After him goes Matt Ryan and Travis Etienne.
Yeah, that was a great outcome for me because I was really looking like, man, I could use another running back. And then, Chris Carson and David Montgomery both here. So those are pretty easy picks for me here. I will easily pass up on the quarterback position. I'll grab a...
Would that be as easy if Ryan or Tannehill were still there?
It wouldn't be as easy. I would probably still do it, but it wouldn't be as easy. I am looking down the list and getting kind of nervous because it's just not a lot of appetizing options out there.
Really, after that, top 14, you take a chance on Trevor. As your second quarterback isn't bad. You mentioned Kirk, Baker, Carson, but that's kind of the iffy tier. So I think I've kind of realized there is a 12 to 14 guys that really like that. You definitely need to get one of them, but it would be really nice to get 2.
Yeah, there is. And I feel like part of it's the ADP. Ryan Fitzpatrick's not bad. Tua, I really don't want. Daniel Jones isn't bad. Ben, I don't want. Fields, I don't want. Darnold, I don't want. Trey Lance is fine as a 3rd. Zach Wilson, I don't want. But, for a super flex, Jared Goff's not a bad second guy to have. Someone else like that. Jimmy G, maybe. Not really. Yeah, I don't know. I think there's more than I originally thought. It's just, it's not that enticing, but we're going to go ahead and we're going to lock in the running back position here for me because I do need another one here. And for me, clear cut, it's Chris Carson. I trust, I like Dan Montgomery this year, but I trust Carson more. I trust Seattle more. I think they'll be running the ball a lot as they usually do. So we'll go ahead and lock in Mr. Carson and see, maybe I'll grab a tight end next if a bunch don't go, but James Robinson, Robert Woods, Mike Davis round out the 6th. DJ Moore, Big Ben, and Baker go right before my pick. So I do get a tight end here. And, in the 7th round to be grabbing, my picks to be Mark Andrews. I'm quite happy with that. Gets that position out of the way. I don't have to really focus on it anymore. And I get a pretty high upside guy. I can't see him getting into the 1 slot, but we know Mark Andrews could be a top 3 tight end in this league. So I'm very happy grabbing Mark Andrews here. Hawkinson I like as well, but it puts his concerns behind me because it just takes a quick run. Once him and Hawkinson are gone, I'm really less thrilled with the options. Not, there's people that we'd pick from, but I'm less thrilled. And that allows me to wait and, I could grab I need tight or wide receiver. There's still plenty of wide receivers out there. And, I'm liking how things are shaping up for this team. So we're locking in Mark Andrews here. We'll see who gets back to me if I want to start striking a quarterback again. Another quarterback goes off the board, though. We have Dan Montgomery and then Trevor Lawrence. You're on the clock.
So this is interesting because there is one tight end left that I'm really interested in that top 5 and Hawkinson. Pitts and Goddard are interesting and could be guys that could be fallback. But looking and working the board, I can look and see that of the 3 teams behind me, 2 already have tight end. So unless one of them goes with 2, which at this stage, I don't even think the computer would do that. So do I play the game and risk passing on Hawkinson here, getting a running back or receiver, and hoping that he gets back in the next round? So I look, and interesting value, Miles Sanders. With our format here, you can only start 3 running backs, but getting a 4th running back gives me a ton of trade value to be able to get another receiver or really anything there. But Kamara, Chubb, Clyde, and Sanders would be very interesting. At wide receiver, looking at Cooper Kupp, Deontay Johnson, Tyler Lockett, Kenny Galladay, Ayuk, Higgins. So still some interesting value there at receiver. Kupp would be the one that would kind of stick out to me there. But I think I want to try risking it, going with Sanders here and seeing if I can get Hawkinson in maybe like a fallback of a receiver like Kupp or Deontay. So we're going to try it out here. We're going to go with Miles Sanders and see what happens here. Kenny Galladay, Kirk Cousins, Cooper Kupp, Deontay Johnson, Tyler Lockett, and Tua. So my gamble pays off. 2 receivers that my backups or my backup options did go, but the tight end position falls to me here, and I am able to gobble up the guy that I was hoping for in the last round with Hawkinson and really fill out my offensive lineup here with TJ Hawkinson and really just need a wide receiver to fill out the starters. Interesting.
You are punting wide receiver a lot this year.
Yeah, but I mean, you only have to start 2 in this format. And, maybe if it's a 3 wide receiver league, that maybe pushes it a little more up. But, I mean, the way I think about it, I've got 4 very good running backs that probably take one eventually, but I may not have to take another one the whole draft. I've got great trade value with Kamara, Chubb, Clyde, and Sanders, 2 solid quarterbacks. And I'm really confident in DK as my top quarterback, as well as not having to worry about tight end the rest of the draft after taking TJ Hawkinson here. I think it just comes down to just the amount of receivers that are there. It's just the most abundant position with the way the NFL has trended the last few years. More and more teams are passing, more and more 3 receiver sets. With that, there's just so many receivers that are catching the ball, so many yards going around. So I'm going to go with Hawkinson here, lock that position in, and after Hawkinson, Gaskin, and Odell Beckham to you.
So Gaskin was in consideration for me. So I'm kind of glad that he's gone. I'm really torn as to what to do. Looking at the quarterback, for some reason, Daniel Jones is like screaming to me. Like he should be picked here. That feels like a terrible decision.
You do have 2 quarterbacks off the board on each of the teams behind you.
Yeah, so I can wait. I also like Carr. I'm fine with him as your super flex kind of a guy. Wentz is fine. Fitzpatrick is fine. So I'm okay with some of the options here. At running back, you got Kareem Hunt, Chase Edmonds, Raheem Mostert, Melvin Gordon, Damian Harris. So still some solid kind of guys. You're in that mid tier. Wide receiver Ayuk, T. Higgins, Cortland Sutton, Chase Claypool. So you get some good wide receivers here. I think part of me wants to grab another running back before it gets too dry, but the other part of me just wants to get another wide receiver. A lot of wide receivers have gone. How many teams have 2 quarterbacks here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Just you.
All of them. Just me. Okay. That makes the decision a little bit easier. I might punt a little bit longer initially. So
at what point do they start taking 3rd quarterbacks? And that's where you have the risk is.
Yeah, that's where I can get burned. But that's fine. We'll play that game. So I'm going to go ahead. I like some wide receivers on the board, and I'm looking. The people after me have taken a lot of wide receivers recently. So we're going to grab a running back first, and then we will go from there. I think, I have Cook, Akers, and Chris Carson. I can afford to take an upside shot. And I think of the top options here, Chase Edmonds is the one that presents the most upside. Hunt might be safer. Mostert has a blend of upside and safety, but I think Chase has a lot of upside to him if he can really take that role away and not share as much time with Connor. I'm not super convinced it's going to happen, but I have the luxury of taking that shot. So we'll lock him in here. We'll see how the draft falls. A lot of wide receivers went, so that didn't work out in my favor.
Not pay off.
No, it does not. So T. Higgins, Ayuk,
going
Chase Claypool,
over Kareem Hunt.
Yeah, for real. Then Kareem Hunt, Robbie Anderson, DJ Chark. So, man, Ayuk was the one I wanted. Man. Okay, that's fine. Whatever. Cortland Sutton's still here, and I like Sutton. So it still works out just fine for me. I am looking at that Chase pick, and I haven't drafted him at all, and I probably really don't intend on drafting him that often this year. I still think he can make sense for the team, again, because from the upside standpoint, but it is weird seeing him on my roster. I'll tell you that right now. It's something good takes some getting used to, but I want to go with another wide receiver.
But, more of like a fourth or fifth running back.
Yeah,
it's hard taking him to redraft.
It is. But I have the luxury. It'll be fine. I will wait at the quarterback position, see if that roll of the dice pans out for me at all, and then lock in Sutton. I've been drafting him plenty of this year. I was high on him before. I'm still high on him post-injury, regardless who the quarterback's going to be. So we'll go ahead and lock in Sutton as my third wide receiver, and we'll see how the rest of this round plays out until it gets back to me here. Tyler Boyd and Devonta Smith go off the board or after me, so that's a good start from the quarterback position. You're on the clock.
Yeah, a lot of receivers go, which was, as you were hoping, didn't happen. I was also hoping, being that I only have one receiver on the team right now. But I think here I'm able to just kind of call my shot, go receiver early and often, probably at some point in the next few rounds, maybe look to a third quarterback or maybe a value running back. But at this point, it's probably going to be a lot of receivers in a row here. And the top guys here that stick out to me are Deebo Samuel and Jerry Jeudy. ADP puts Juju up there, Cooks, Will Fuller, Curtis Samuel. But for me, I think it's Deebo and Jerry Jeudy as the top guys. And it's tough. I think both of them have question marks at quarterback. Yeah, especially if we do have a rookie come in San Francisco. As much as I think you are a big fan of Lance, and I think it could be good, how many mouths can he sustain with Ayuk there, with Kittle there, with Deebo there? So I'm going to lean Jerry Jeudy here with upside, and then hope that more of a safe guy like a Jarvis or somebody gets back to me in the next round to pair with him and DK. So we're going to go Jeudy here as my second receiver to fill out my starting lineup. After him, Raheem Mostert, Juju Smith-Schuster, Ronald Jones, Deshaun Watson goes off the board, Deebo Samuel, and Carson Wentz. So we have our first two teams that take their third quarterback. And we're at receiver. Jarvis is still there. He's fourth guy on the ADP board, but you're looking at Cooks, Fuller, Samuel, Landry, Davis, LaVisca, Parker. So some interesting upside guys. LaVisca is an interesting shot to take here, but I think I want to get some safety just with the confidence I feel in the rest of the team. I feel like I don't really need the receiver position to be that much of a boom, especially if Jeudy, starts slow or doesn't pan out right away. I can plug Jarvis in there. It's just, a consistent kind of worst starter on my team. And you got consistency there, not a lot of boom plays. So we're going to be able to take some more upside shots as we go along here. But if we just look at the other positions, tight end, we still have only the top five off the board. Pitts, Goddard, Nant, Logan Thomas, Tunyon, still all there. Running backs, we're looking at Melvin Gordon, Damian Harris, David Johnson, Leonard Fournette, James Conner, and quarterback, Fitzpatrick, Jones, Carr, Fields, Darnold. So quite a few guys available in all those spots. We're going to go with another receiver here in Jarvis Landry. And After I take Jarvis there, go Trey Sermon and Brandon Cooks. So only 2 quarterbacks go since your last pick.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. And I'm also liking this tight end thing because me and you have both gotten tight ends. At some point, there's going to be a run, and that's going to allow some people to fall to us here.
Yes.
So that's really nice. I'm actually debating going quarterback here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need anything.
You have like a style of like veteran and rookie, or like just best available that you're looking at?
I would probably get someone that I feel is reliable in Derek Carr. And then somebody that I see as upside in Daniel Jones, maybe. I still don't like... You got the ADP situation with Jameis and Taysom Hill. Like obviously, once we figure out who that's going to be, they're going to be higher up. So they also present upside. I could grab like a Derek Carr and then grab Trey Lance and just sit on him, but I'm not convinced he plays this year. But that's another thing that we've been doing on our regular league. So you could definitely do it here. Wouldn't be surprised to see you do it. But Derek Carr and Daniel Jones are the guys I'm looking at. From a running back standpoint, Melvin Gordon, Damian Harris, David Johnson, Leonard Fournette. There's still some good options there. At the wide receiver position, Will Fuller, Curtis Samuel is interesting. LaVisca, a nice upside shot there. So there's still good options all around, but I don't want to get burned too badly at the quarterback position. So I will go ahead and draft Derek Carr here. We'll see what goes off the board after me. There goes Justin Fields, Melvin Gordon, Damian Harris. Now the tight end thing's happening there. It's Kyle Pitts, Dallas Goedert, and then Leonard Fournette. So I will go ahead. I'm going to draft Daniel Jones. That'll take care of my quarterback position. I'll have my 2 in my backup. Has some upside, has some safety. It is absolutely terrifying looking at the quarterback group with Daniel Jones and Hurts, who could both suck, and Derek Carr, who could just be this middling kind of a guy. So there's a lot of risk I'm taking on here. That's my style. But again, if it pays off, it's going to pay off big. So we'll lock him in, and there's plenty of good players that are falling. So I'm happy to wait and grab somebody else. There goes Noah Fant and Logan Thomas. That tight end run hit pretty quickly.
Boy, I'm enjoying waiting on receiver. I mean, it was a little worrisome on the last time it came to me, but since I took Landry, only 1 receiver goes in 12 picks. So a lot of guys that I still like here that I was even considering instead of Jarvis. So going to go receiver here for sure, and then next round receiver, possibly quarterback, depending what's there. Wouldn't mind getting one of the rookies, especially given that I've got 2 very reliable quarterbacks in Tannehill and Stafford. So being able to add Lance and Wilson for some, potential boom and trade value if they pan out. If not, that's kind of the risk you take here later, but more upside than, grabbing a Fitzpatrick or a Winston here. Darnold's an interesting one as well because we don't really know what's going to happen there, but we'll see what happens. Going to go with the receiver here, though, and guys that I'm looking at, Curtis Samuel, Corey Davis, Visca Chenault, Antonio Brown, Gallup. So, even if I don't go quarterback next round, getting 2 of them to pair with DK, Judy, and Landry would be pretty solid to fill out the receiver core. So I'm going to go with an upside guy. I've got Jarvis as kind of my, worst case scenario. All of my receivers outside of DK don't hit. Jarvis can be filled in as the receiver too. So I'm going to go with an upside shot here of Laviska Shenault. I think the de facto number 1 there in Chark. It seems like the coaching staff isn't really sold on. They bring in Marvin Jones, who is a very similar mold to Chark. So it seems like they may not be sold on him. Whereas it does seem like Urban has spoken highly of Laviska. Him still being here as my receiver 4 is very solid. So we're going to go with him, and then either looking at quarterback or wide receiver in the next round and hope that we have some more tight ends go off the board. Oh, and took the wrong guy, but we'll pretend like that didn't happen. Corey Davis is who I accidentally took after him.
Oh, good one.
Curtis Samuel, Hunter Henry.
Can I fix that? I don't know if I can fix that.
I don't know if you can with this or not.
Yeah, I don't think I can.
That's all right. He was one that I was thinking about. So Curtis Samuel goes, Hunter Henry, Will Fuller, Michael Carter, Zach Moss. So Still some solid receivers, all the guys I was looking at there, all the quarterbacks that I was looking at. So I'll probably wait at least another round on quarterback. And, at this point, had I taken Laviska in the last round, I probably would be debating between Davis, Antonio Brown, and Michael Gallup. And probably, I probably would have gone Antonio Brown, but we'll say it would have been Corey Davis. So I will take Laviska Shenault now here in this round and get him on the team. After him, Kenyon Drake and James Conner.
That's a shame because I kind of wanted to take the shot on Laviska, and I'm like, well, Will kind of picked him, but didn't. So I feel weird picking him.
Yeah.
I'm glad you solved that little issue there. Mm-hmm. So quarterback and tight end are both done for me. So looking at the running backs, we got Gus Edwards, A.J. Dillon, Devin Singletary, Jamal Williams, Tony Pollard. I myself am sitting on Cook, Akers, Carson, and Chase Edmonds. At the wide receiver position, we got Devonte Parker, Antonio Brown, Michael Gallup, Hollywood Brown, Mike Williams. I have Calvin Ridley, Michael Thomas, and Cortland Sutton. So quite happy with that wide receiver group. Wouldn't mind adding another running back. Nobody really screams off the board at me, though. So, but meanwhile, I'm looking at the wide receiver position, and people are Antonio Brown, like you said, Mike Williams is there. I'll take the shot on T.Y. Hilton. Mooney's pretty solid. Ruggs down there. So got some interesting options. It's hard to pass up on a running back, though. So I'm going to grab somebody that I think is going to be a safer option to kind of pair with my risky Chase Edmonds pick, and that's going to be Gus Edwards. Really like Gus this year. I know you like him as well. He's going to be one of those kind of late round guys you can plug into your flex and you'll get a fair amount of points out of him. Mm-hmm. And then you'll have those games where he scores 2 touchdowns and you'll be really happy. So I'm going to go ahead and grab him there to pair with Chase Edmonds and kind of round out that running back group. Glad I did. Holy cow. So Nyheim Hines, A.J. Dillon, Devin Singletary, Latavius Murray, Jamal Williams, and then Marvin Jones goes off the board after me. So all running backs except for Marvin there. So that makes me happy. We still got Tony Pollard, Daryl Henderson, Philip Lindsay, Tree Cohen. So some good options. You're kind of in that, to a degree, handcuffed tier. But looking back at the wide receiver positions, all the wide receivers that I liked are still there. So I will go ahead and grab Mr. Antonio Brown here. I think he is going to be pretty solid. I'm not sure he's going to have the highest upside in the world, but I don't think his floor is going to be too bad either. And if for some reason, Sutton is slow to come off his injury, I think Antonio Brown is going to fill in quite well there. So we'll lock him in there and send it off to you for your final 2 picks here, Will. We got Tony Pollard and Daryl Henderson off the board.
Yeah, Pollard's one that I was looking at if he was still there, kind of given that last few rounds, you're taking guys that you want to see what you have early on. And, I pretty much know in the first few weeks what his carry count's going to be. Is Zeke the one random running back that gets hurt and elevate somebody else? So good pick there for team number 5. So with him off the board, there's not really any other running backs that I am interested in at this stage. Probably going to be looking at a receiver here and then a third quarterback in the next round. So we've got Devonte Parker, Michael Gallup, Hollywood Brown, Mike Williams, Michael Pittman, Jalen Waddle, Hilton, Mooney, and Beasley. Guys I'm looking at, Michael Gallup, Pittman, and Mooney are kind of the big 3 here for me. Mooney, I think, is a little bit deeper of a shot, and with Superflex, you're probably taking less players. So I'm going to be between Gallup and Pittman. And the tiebreakers, I think, is just going to be quarterback and more consistent play there in Dallas. So we'll take another upside shot here, quarter receiver, and we're going to go Michael Gallup. And then looking to probably round out with a younger quarterback here in the next round. J.D. McKissick, Philip Lindsay, Tree Cohen, Alexander Madison, Jeff Wilson, and Rashad Penny. So yet another running back run there. So a lot of guys coming off the board there. So we'll take a look at what is available here. Receiver, Devonte Parker, Marquise Brown, Mike Williams, Pittman, Waddle, Hilton. Tight ends, you still got your Robert Tonyan, Mike Gesicki, Tyler Higbee, Irv Smith, Evan Ingram. Everyone kind of grabbed their guy the last couple rounds. Running backs, James White, Tevin Coleman, Kenneth Gainwell, Giovanni Bernard, Sonny Michel. So this stage, it's kind of, do you take that upside shot of a Tevin Coleman type of running back, or do you go, especially if you're drafting early in the summer with one of the rookie quarterbacks, and you never really want it. Then this type of league, you probably can't, but you take the guy and hope that he starts, and if it turns out that he's not starting the year, you could use him as a cut if needed. So I'm going to go at the upside of a Trey Lance here as my third quarterback. I think there's just more weapons around him, and just a better offensive mind in San Francisco than New York with Wilson. So Trey Lance will be my last pick here. Him as my third quarterback. After him, Jameis Winston and Tevin Coleman.
Yeah, so some pretty solid options. I'll avoid the quarterback position. I don't need 4. I'm not going to draft a trade. From a running back standpoint, not in love with a lot of the options. Kenneth Gainwell's interesting as like an upside guy. So I'm really looking at the wide receiver position here. Devonte Parker is surprisingly kind of hard to pass up here.
Yeah.
I just don't know what to believe in like a Tua, but that's very interesting here. Hollywood Brown's cool. Mike Williams is another pretty interesting pick here. Going further down the list, Jalen Reagor, Henry Ruggs to pair with my, Derek Carr would be interesting. So there's a lot of good wide receivers here. So I think, I've been drafting a lot of Mike Williams. I think I'm going to go ahead and grab Devonte Parker. Now, I don't think he belongs. Like, I would draft Devonte Parker before Marvin Jones, and Corey Davis, and that's probably about it. I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to get too crazy about anyone else on this list, but we're going to go ahead and draft Mr. Devonte Parker here and round out that wide receiver core. I think it's a pretty good value. Let's see here. Will, what was your grade?
Grade 84 out of 100, B.
Oh, 84. Oh, I got a 94 out of 100.
Oh.
Which is kind of surprising because I'm looking at it like, I guess it did not like the fact that you waited at wide receiver.
Yeah, waited for wide receiver too. I think they probably rate your starters over your bench. And for some reason, drafting Miles Sanders moved Stafford to the bench. So they probably don't like that I'm only starting one quarterback, even though they moved it down.
Oh, yeah, they did that to me too. They put Chase Edmonds in there. Interesting.
It's probably ADP, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, it's probably ADP. Yeah, that's interesting. So to run down the teams here, at quarterback, I got Jalen Hurts. At running back, Dalvin Cook, Cam Akers, Chris Carson, Chase Edmonds, Gus Edwards. At wide receiver, Calvin Ridley, Michael Thomas, Cortland Sutton, Antonio Brown, and Devonte Parker. And then at the tight end position, I have Mark Andrews. Overall, I'm pretty happy with this team. I could see it having immense upside if those quarterbacks work out. Because everything else about this roster is very strong. Starting Cook and Akers, starting Ridley and Michael Thomas, starting Andrews, and my flex spot will be Chris Carson. That'll leave Chase Edmonds, Gus, Antonio Brown, and Devonte Parker on my bench. Jalen Hurts, I would like to think as an auto start, given the rushing upside, and then Carr, Daniel Jones, we can kind of play around and see on that Superflex. But overall, I like that team. Definitely risky, but I like it. How about your team, Will?
Yeah, so quarterbacks have got Ryan Tannehill, Matt Stafford, and Trey Lance. Running backs, Alvin Kamara, Nick Chubb, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and Miles Sanders. So just the 4 running backs there. Receiver, DK Metcalf, Jerry Jeudy, Jarvis Landry, Laviska Shenault, Corey Davis, and Michael Gallup, and then Hockenson at tight end. Overall, pretty happy with the team. Obviously a little light at receiver, but that's why we took a lot of shots later to just hope that one of them pops and becomes, a consistent wide receiver 2. Outside of that, I've got 2 quarterbacks that I don't have to worry about, I think, and then a potential of having a big boom in Trey Lance if he's, a rookie that blows up. Running backs, I think I'm pretty thrilled. I've got Kamara, Chubb, Clyde, and Miles, and it gives flexibility that technically could flex one of them on quarterback bye weeks if I really needed to, because of just the volume that you imagine you get there. Hockenson just fills that tight end role, so really just kind of cycling in that wide receiver 2 role. But other than that, I'm pretty happy with the team.
Yeah, it's a fun little exercise.
Yeah.
We'll have to see if your team officially flips over to Superflex, and we'll have to do this another time or two before
Yeah.
we get to the end of the season. We don't do a ton of Superflex, but it's always interesting when we do.
Absolutely.
Cool. Well, until next week, folks, always remember, trust your board.